So today I've decided to make a personal pilgrimage to my favorite archaeological site, the Acropolis of Athens. And it's been probably about 9 months since I've been up here. It feels really good to be back, albeit under different circumstances. So I'm walking up the hill. As we go along, I'll be taking some videos to show you some unusual views and captures of the buildings on top of the Acropolis, the structures, now that there are hardly any tourists, anybody really here. This is the path that leads up the slope, the only slope that's accessible, the west slope of the hill of the Acropolis. Usually it's packed with people heading up. Today it's not so packed. You can see the city of Athens below, the Odeon of Herod Atticus down here with the restored seats, and in the distance the hill of Philopappou and the Aegean Sea, the Saronic Gulf. There's the Temple of Nike up here. It's one of the first things that you see coming into the area of the sacred area of the Acropolis. And you can watch my Acropolis Virtual Tour for all of the details and information about all of these places that I'll be showing you here. These are the steps that go up to the Propylaea, the monumental entrance gate. Again, usually these steps are just packed with people. You can see the Doric columns here of this amazing entrance. More views of the city of Athens below. Down there is the best preserved Doric temple that we have in Greece. That's a temple dedicated to Hephaestus. And up on this little promontory here is this wonderful temple dedicated to the wingless victory, or Aptera Nike. These are the columns of the Propylaea, the monumental entrance. And then again, the Temple of Nike here with its Ionic columns and its beautiful frieze. Everywhere you see the lighter color marble is the restoration, but using the exact same marble as was used in antiquity. It's just that this marble that comes from Mount Pendeli is very rich in iron. And so over the millennia, it becomes sort of this creamy color. So wherever you see the lighter color, that means that that's the newer bits that have been put in for the restoration. So we're walking through the Propylaea, the monumental entrance gate on top of the hill of the Acropolis. And the first thing that you see coming out of the Propylaea, of course, is the Parthenon. And to our left here, in front of us, is the Erechtheion with the famous caryatid porch, the Porch of the Maidens. I'll get closer to that in a bit. But here's the view when you come out of the monumental entrance gate. It's a bit of a walk up, though we usually do it sort of in bits to give people a chance to catch their breath. There's a nice breeze up here today. Usually we'd walk up that ramp there and around the Parthenon, but in light of the situation, we are taking a specified route that takes us around to the right here so that people don't cross paths. So it's a one-way visit. You can see on the ground the rock that the whole Parthenon, the whole Acropolis was built on. Here's the back of the Propylaea. You can see those bits of marble that are jutting out of those square blocks there. That means that this structure was left unfinished, because those protruding bits were where ropes were tied around the marble to hoist them into place, and then they would have eventually been shaved off and finished, but the Propylaea was actually left unfinished. The west side of the Parthenon, you can see the steps that lead up to the base of the temple, and the pediment isn't there anymore, that triangular bit that would have been at the top there. You can see the Doric columns. Again, for any detailed information, you can watch the virtual Acropolis tour that I've done, and I give a lot of information about what we call optical refinements of this magnificent building. This is the view of Athens from the top of the hill of the Acropolis. This is what the ancients would have seen, minus all the buildings, of course. Down below us here is the Acropolis Museum, which is right down there. And the sea in the distance. You can see just in the distance the island of Agora, and beyond that is the Peloponnese. There is another island there that you can see, which is Salamis, where the famous sea battle of Salamis took place, sort of behind those mountains there. And the Odeon of Herod Atticus, that Roman Odeon that has been restored. The Parthenon has always been sort of my personal temple, and I've come up here today as a pilgrim, as people did 2,500 years ago. It's in my heart, and I couldn't come to Greece, come to Athens without making the trip up here. From the south slope of the Acropolis, you can see the very first theater, the Theater of Dionysus, down here, and then the Acropolis Museum. And as we move along, you can see the remains of the temple dedicated to Olympian Zeus. This was the largest temple in antiquity, but they had to make a compromise because Athena was the goddess of the city of Athens, the patron goddess, but Zeus was the father of the gods. So Athena's temple is up here, higher, but Zeus's temple was larger. And then beyond it, you can just see the end of the Pnyx stadium, that marble stadium that was built for the first modern Olympic Games in 1896. You can watch, I've made a video about the marathon, the origins of the marathon race, and I refer to the stadium in that, so you can have a look at that if you're interested. The eastern boundary of the city of Athens, Mount Hymettus or Imitos, which in ancient times was famous for its very high quality honey production. At the east side of the temple of the Parthenon. This was the entrance to the structure, and you can see the columns. If you look very closely, you can see how the end columns are a little bit thicker than the middle ones. You can also see that there are 8 columns on the short side, and on the long side there are 17, and that was called the golden rule, which was the short side doubled plus 1. That's what the ancient Greeks believed to be the perfect proportions of a building. There are loads of other such sort of mathematical perfections in the building that you could discuss for days and days on end. But you just have a look here at these wonderful Doric columns that flank. These are the 2 sort of best sides that have been restored of the Parthenon. You can hear the wind around me, it's quite windy today. We're heading over now to the gorgeous little temple called the Erechtheion. It was an Ionic temple, but not a strict Ionic temple. It was a very complex, let's say, temple that had different elements to it. But you can see these beautiful Ionic columns on this side here. Here's the famous porch of the maidens, or the caryatids. There originally were 6. 5 are still here in Greece, in the Acropolis Museum. 1 is in the British Museum in London. And they serve as columns, but they're just gorgeous. That hill that you see in the distance is the hill of Lycabettus. That is the highest hill in Athens, and should have been actually where the temples were. This should have been the Acropolis of Athens, but it didn't work for a number of reasons, one of which was the fact that it's very pointy, and so you couldn't really build temples up there. But the main reason was that there was no potable source of water up there, because you see, the Acropolis served as the fortress of a city as well. And so in times of siege, it had to be a place where the populace could remain safely for whatever amount of time was necessary. And so you needed potable water. And because there was no spring on top of Lykavitos, or Lycabettus Hill, they decided to go with the second highest mountain in the city of Athens. Athens has 7 hills in the downtown area, and the second highest one is the hill that I'm standing on now, which is the hill of the Acropolis. So this is the reason why the Acropolis in Athens was not built on the highest point of the city, whereas in other cities, in other ancient Greek city-states, the highest point of that city-state would have been where the Acropolis was. There was not just one Acropolis in ancient times. Athens, the Acropolis of Athens is the most well-known, of course, but there were Acropolises in all ancient Greek city-states. I'm standing on the side of the Erechtheion, and where that olive tree is right there is the legendary place where the sort of battle between Athena and Poseidon took place for the naming of the city of Athens. This olive tree was planted in modern times to honor the fact that Athena won that competition between herself and Poseidon, and got to name the city of Athens after her. So Athena and Athens. In Greek we say Athena, that's the name of the city actually. And the olive branch was her her symbol and gift to the city of Athens, the olive tree. Down below the hill of the Acropolis on the northern side is the ancient Agora. Here you can see the area that was the downtown area of ancient Athens. There's some remains there. You can see here the Doric temple of Hephaestus. You can see a reconstructed stoa or portico here. And the hill that some people are standing on right there, that's called Mars Hill, or the Hill of Areopagus. And that was where the Supreme Court of ancient Athens met. It's important in biblical history because it is where the Apostle Paul came and actually was brought to the Supreme Court because he preached Christianity in the Agora. And he was asked to come up to explain what he was doing there. And from the Areopagus Hill, or Mars Hill there, you just look a little bit further to the left. There's an area, an open area on that hill, and that was called Pnyx, P-N-Y-X Hill. And this was where democracy was born. Democracy, it was a very rudimentary sort of direct democracy in 2,500 years ago here in Athens. And it was where the male citizens of the city would gather to vote. So right on the western side of the hill of the Acropolis. Sadly, it's time to leave, but I'll be back, and hopefully I'll be back with groups, many groups, very soon. It's been a different experience for me coming up here on my own, but still, I'm happy that I came, and I hope to see a lot of you soon here in Greece, here in Athens, at the Acropolis.